Good day, students. How are you today? You must be wondering what I'm doing with this bag. Well, before I came, I went to the supermarket and I picked up a few things. Flour, yam, ripe plantain, cornbread, raisin bread, rice, roasted almond, baked beans, apples, tomatoes, lettuce, icing sugar, milk. You may be wondering why we have these items on the table. The items are here because they have the nutrient carbohydrate in common. So our topic for today is carbohydrates. My name is Suzette Buchanan. I am your teacher today. Our subject for today is food, nutrition, and health. Our learning objectives for this lesson are: 1. State the chemical composition of carbohydrates. 2. Explain how carbohydrates are produced. 3. Classify carbohydrates. 4. State the function of carbohydrates in our diets. 5. Identify main sources of carbohydrates. Now, let us look at what our food items on the table have in common. They have in common carbohydrates, and this set here are starches, this set dietary fiber, this set sugars. Students, we can now define carbohydrates. Carbohydrates are sugars, starches, and fibers found in fruits, grains, vegetables, and milk products. There are some key things we need to know about carbohydrates before we go any further. Carbohydrates contain the elements carbon, oxygen, and hydrogen. Carbohydrates are produced by the process called photosynthesis. This is the process by which plants convert carbon dioxide, water, using energy from sunlight to produce carbohydrate and oxygen. Let us classify carbohydrates. Carbohydrates are classified in 2 categories. 1. Simple carbohydrates. 2. Complex carbohydrates. Simple carbohydrates. This category contains monosaccharides, known as simple sugars, and disaccharides, known as double sugars. Monosaccharides. The 3 main types of monosaccharides are: 1. Fructose, also called fruit sugar, is found in fruits, plant juices, and honey. 2. Glucose, which is found in fruits and vegetables, example, onion and beetroot. 3. Galactose, which is found in the milk of mammals, example, cow milk and goat milk. Let us look at disaccharides. Disaccharides are known as double sugars. There are 3 types of disaccharides. Sucrose, an example of sucrose is cane sugar. This is glucose plus fructose. 2. Maltose, example, barley. Here we have 2 units of glucose. 3. Lactose. This comes from milk of mammals, and here we have glucose plus galactose. Let us take note, students. Disaccharides have 2 units of simple sugar. If you take a look at sucrose, maltose, and lactose, you will notice that they all have glucose. We also need to note that these simple sugars dissolve in liquids. They are sweet, and they are the simplest form of sugar. Let us look at complex carbohydrates. These are known as polysaccharides. This category contains starch, dextrin, cellulose, glycogen, pectin. Let us look at each of them. Starch. Starch contains several units of glucose. Examples of starches are rice, wheat, root vegetables such as yam, potatoes. Dextrin. Dextrin is formed when food containing starch is baked or toasted. Example, toast bread and cakes. Cellulose. Cellulose is known as non-starch polysaccharide, NSP, also known as dietary fiber, which is formed by plants. It is a strong structural material which the plants use for support. Example, stem, leaves, husk of seeds, and barks. One example of cellulose is callaloo. Pectin. Pectin is also known as a non-starch polysaccharide, which is formed by some plants such as plums and apples. It forms a gel in water and is responsible for setting of jam. Glycogen. Glycogen is formed after digestion in humans to ensure that the body has a reserve of energy. Some glucose is also converted into glycogen and temporarily stored in the liver and muscles. Now, why is carbohydrate important? Why do we need carbohydrate? What are the functions of carbohydrate? 1. Carbohydrate is an important source of energy. 2. Carbohydrates act as a protein sparer, thus allowing protein to carry out its primary function. 3. Carbohydrates are stored in the liver as glycogen and released in our bodies as we need it as glucose. 4. Prevents ketosis by allowing fatty acids to be used efficiently. 5. Provides dietary fiber, which aids weight loss due to low calories and prevents constipation. Students, as you know, carbohydrates are our favorite food. This is the food nutrient that gets us all into trouble. So let us look at sources of carbohydrate. We have granulated sugar. We have brown sugar. These we love in our cakes. It's in our ice cream. It's in our chocolate. We like syrup. Syrup we find in or we use for our pancakes. And guess what, students? I like a lot of it on my pancake. And the pancake is also a carbohydrate. Jams, fruits. Then there are the starches. The French fries from KFC. The burger, the bread that makes the burgers. The bread that makes the hot dogs, those are starches. Fried rice from the Chinese restaurant. Then we have the starches. We have the potatoes. You know, like the sweet potato pudding. The cassava pudding. You have the bananas, the green banana cake, banana porridge. You have fried plantains, green fried plantains. Those you can get at the fast food restaurants, or you can make that at home. You crush it, and that is extremely high in carbohydrates. Then we have the fibers. Our fibers, we have whole wheat flour. We have legumes such as peas, red peas, gungo peas, black-eyed peas. So when you have your stew peas at home, you're having carbohydrates in your stew peas. And the carbohydrate in the stew peas is the dietary fiber. You also have rice. Rice in the form of brown rice or wild rice. Those rice are high in dietary fiber. Students, the lesson I did today, the information can be found in your textbooks. Home Economics for Caribbean Schools, Food and Nutrition, a 2-year course by Cynthia Merchard, Caribbean Food and Nutrition for C-Sec, 2nd edition by Anita Tull. Students, have a look at my lunch. What do you think will happen to the body if we don't have the correct amount of carbohydrates? Yes, your first thought is diabetes, right? And as your grandmother would say, sugar. Do you think about obesity and the consequences of obesity? And what conditions may occur? Let me tell you the conditions that will occur. Heart disease, diabetes, and you ever hear about rotten teeth? We call it dental caries in food, nutrition, and health. That is what will happen when we consume too much carbohydrates. Have you ever thought about what will happen when we have too little carbohydrates? Let me tell you what will happen. No energy. And our body will use up the protein which we need to spare for protein to carry out its work. We will become constipated. You know what that means? We won't be able to go to the bathroom. I hope this carbohydrate lesson was quite interesting to you. Now, what I want you to do for me is to look in your cupboards at home, identify sources of carbohydrates, take pictures and paste them in your notebook. At least 6 sources of carbohydrates. Remember now, if you don't have a camera and you don't have a smartphone, don't worry. You can use your newspaper and you can use magazines. Remember, paste it in your book and write short notes. Students, I hope you enjoyed the lesson. It was good being with you. Until next time.